Yesterday, Lauren and I are recording the Axe Factor, and we got World Clock up. We're ready to clap. And Lauren goes, let's clap at 23 and 27. And it's like 20 seconds, like right then. So, like, you know, it's like 3 seconds away from the first clap. And I'm like, yep. And we get to 23, and I'm like, smack. And he's like, oh, we really do it. I was like, yeah, we're really doing it. And, like, we come to 27. He's like, oh, hold it, wait. And, you know, he claps, and he's like, I was just kidding. I'm like, yeah, you should never do that. Yeah. The clap is sacred. And if you tell me 23-27, I'm going on 23-27.
And just to be clear, that's not the first time that you've said the clap is sacred. But you've told every partner you've had for the last 30 some odd years.
Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 212! The good old days!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring what? Huh?
Delayed. Sorry.
This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring the Anyway, my name's Tony Grice. This is Daniel. That's Brent. Whatever.
Wow.
Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up? My missileman of mayhem! My spaceman of slaughter! How art thou?
I've been called a missile man before, but I don't remember the name of that bar in San Francisco. So
yes, you do.
Well played, sir. Well played. Of course, this week's bit of alliteration is in reference to the impending, and by impending I mean about a month away, launch of the next-gen consoles.
Oh, missiles
from
launching.
Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah, they're kind of like missiles.
Well, I mean, you know, we're about to find out because, you know, some of those things don't exactly go up. So time will tell on that one.
All righty. DK, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing great, TG in 3D. We are on episode 212, 212. If you do the math and add one more one, that is 2112, which any self-respecting Rush fan will know is the greatest number in the history of numbers. So I want to take a moment to say happy Canadian Thanksgiving to Alex, Getty, and Neil, and all Canadians out there. Thank you for hockey. Thank you for Molson sometimes. And thank you for every freaking note of Rush's amazing 30-year career. I love you guys, and I hope to someday fill in for Neil Peart.
Oh, Jesus, I thought you were going to say something else there. Oh.
If nothing less, just to air drum and go from there. So anyway, yes, I'm doing great. All things Canada this week. 2112 rocks. There you go.
Now, did you ever read Ready Player One? I know I recommended it to you a couple times.
You did recommend it to me, but no, I don't know how to read, and I've been covering that up for years, so this is my time.
Oh, and it just came out, too. Wow.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Tony plans on coming out next week, actually, so that's...
Okay. Let's go ahead and... we got a lot of stories to go through, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys, we're here in the gauntlet, and the first big story, I think probably one of the biggest stories this week, a little bit of a downer for those that were looking forward to it, the fact that Watch Dogs has been pushed back. DK, how much longer are we going to have to wait for this title?
Amazingly, just a month before the game was set to hit the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PC, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Wii U, we found out just days ago that Ubisoft, well, today, recording days ago when you're listening to this, Ubisoft has confirmed that the highly anticipated Watch Dogs will now be shipping in spring of 2014, saying on the website that the ambition from the start with Watch Dogs has been to deliver something that embodies what we wanted to see in the next generation of gaming. It's with that in mind that they've made the tough decision to delay the release. Basically, they've struggled with this, but they want to deliver what they feel is a truly next-gen experience. And here we are, just a month. I thought they were going to announce this week that the game has gone gold and that they're in mass production and getting ready to ship and additional promos. But no, they pushed it back, which is causing quite the tizzy on the internet as people are wondering about their special editions, about their bundles, all this type of stuff.
Isn't that maybe the bigger story? I mean, hey, it's a huge new IP. I think everybody's super excited about it. The fact that it's getting pushed back a little bit, that's a bummer. But hey, I think we all agree in most cases that we think the game will be better for that. But I mean, what happens to these guys, Brent? What happened to these guys with like the special edition bundle systems that they were going to be getting these next gen consoles with?
That's an excellent question, and one that I would really like to get an answer from both retailers as well as Ubisoft, Sony. I mean, I think that we need an answer to that question, because that's a big fucking deal right there. If you have pre-ordered a Watch Dogs, let's say PlayStation 4 bundle, and there is no fucking Watch Dogs, which means there can be no PlayStation 4 bundle, what's going to happen to that pre-order? Are they going to say, well, once the game comes out, we'll make good on this and we'll give you a system? That's not going to fucking work right there. And so I think that we really need to get some solid answers for this, and plus just find out who's on the hook, because I mean, obviously if let's say you pre-ordered this theoretical system through Amazon, it's not Amazon's fucking fault that the game didn't come out and it jacked your pre-order bundle. So I think that they need to get out in front of this pretty quickly, because this is a big question mark, and it's going to, I mean, this is a big deal for me. I don't have a bundle, pardon me, I don't have a bundle pre-ordered, but Watch Dogs was like the game that I was playing. I mean, like, that was the title that I was planning to get with my PlayStation 4 that I was really looking forward to playing. I mean, there's a couple of other things that I was thinking about getting. I mean, Assassin's Creed 4 has just kind of gone into the top slot, but anyway,
I think Ubisoft kind of knows that too. So maybe they weren't too shy in holding back on launching this. But and again, by the time this story is just happening as we're recording, so hopefully even as soon as by the time this airs, they will have addressed that very important issue that you're mentioning. But do you guys fall? I mean, for me, this really, we're all outsiders looking in on the development process, and unless you've developed a game, I guess you can't really understand the pressure associated with trying to meet a deadline in addition to meet a creative objective and all these things. But, Ubisoft has been the ones that have really, I mean, there has been zero sign of a delay coming for this thing. I mean, they've been super confident. There's multiple special editions, the bundles that you mentioned, there's advertising all over the place for this thing. And it's really a shock. So is this more of a marketing gaffe that you think of, or is this just Ubisoft not having their ducks in a row and communicating directly with Ubisoft Montreal to ensure that the game is going to be on par with the quality that they wanted come November, which apparently not going to happen now?
Well, considering the fact that they've also delayed the Crew back, and that's pushed even farther back. Like, they're saying Q2, like mid 2014 for the Crew. Considering that just got delayed as well, I do think that could be a sign that that things are maybe not quite as in order over there as they would like us to believe.
Tony?
Yeah, I wonder too. I'm a little worried that this could possibly be the first of a couple of announcements. Like, hopefully not too terribly many, but a few announcements of games that aren't going to hit that release window. I mean, this is obviously, I think, going to be the biggest one. And I tell you, I'm a little, when they first announced this title, I was really surprised they said it was going to launch this year. Like, yeah. I felt like it being a brand new IP with the scope of the game, to what it looked like, I was really surprised when they announced that it was going to be available this year. And I don't know why, but somewhere in the back of my head, I always kind of thought that this might happen, just because I just didn't think that this. I don't know. I didn't think that they could quite deliver on the product that they promised.
You would have been surprised if they did pull it off.
Basically. Exactly. And so, in a roundabout way, I'm not surprised that this has happened, but I am a little surprised that they let it go this far. They let us get this close to the. Yeah, I mean, really, I think that they should have known by the time, because they waited so long to give us release dates for these consoles. I think by that time would have been a fair time to say, hey, so here's the thing. I don't think that we're going to have the game ready in time. Maybe it would be this holiday season, but we don't want to. We can't give a specific date on it yet, or something like that. But I mean, the fact that they let those dates come out, they ended up doing some bundles, which I think that's maybe the bigger part of this, because let's be honest, we all are used to games getting pushed back, especially high caliber titles like what this is obviously looking to be. Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me as much, and I don't think necessarily puts everybody off as much. I mean, hey, I wanted to play it on my brand new console, but I think people will deal with the other titles they got to choose from now and have that to look forward to later. But the fact, if you made a purchase kind of like, based on this, and if you somehow get screwed out of your launch day console because of this deal, I would be I would be pissed.
Yeah.
But I do think that hopefully, I think they're going to come up with a way to fix this for them.
I think that, I mean, now that I actually kind of, just sit here and I took a second to not listen to you and think a little bit, what they're going to do is they're going to still put out a Watch Dogs bundle. It's just going to have the console and a voucher code for the game when it finally does come out. It'll be something
that's
like
what
that.
I said. I thought they would do is they'll give you a console and then hey, let's say hey maybe to make up for this, maybe for people that pre-ordered that, maybe they give them the console with a copy of Assassin's Creed 4 or something like that.
That's great. Like they're just gonna give you a copy of the game.
I don't think it's that crazy, and I think that you might still get a voucher for something like Watch Dogs later.
I don't think it's that crazy either to say they might maybe not, but it's maybe tie it in like the generation jump. But the last thing I just want to say on this, I'm really curious, and I would love to find out either prior to this game shipping or sometime down the road whether or not this delay is being caused by the cross-generational nature of the game. In the quote, they said from the beginning we've adopted the attitude that they will not compromise on quality, and as they get closer to the release, all the pieces of the puzzle were falling into place and the last push before completion. But it became clear to them that they needed to take the extra time to polish and fine-tune each detail so we can deliver a truly memorable and exceptional experience. But when you're doing that across this game was coming out on every freaking platform. So, it's a monumental task, I would say. And I just wonder, they're going for that broad
these guys have been in the business long enough to know they should have had. I do think that this is a big enough launch. They should have known this a little earlier than they're letting on.
I agree.
And maybe they did. And then that might even be more frustrating is that if they did know this earlier on and they're only kind of letting it be known now. But whatever. The game's gonna come out and a couple months after the fact and everybody's gonna love it and it's everybody's gonna forget this a year down the road.
Potentially.
I don't doubt that it's potentially, but okay, we'll go with that. All right. So next up, we've got the announcement. Also, kind of a little bit of a downer for people that were excited about Grand Theft Auto Online having some of its birthing woes that it had when it first launched. Rockstar is giving back a little something extra. Brent, what's this little freebie they're giving out?
Well, I think it part marketing scheme, part attempt to reinvigorate people's interest in Grand Theft Auto Online, and definitely part way to make restitution for the fact that people have lost their characters in Grand Theft Auto Online, and Rockstar recently announced that they are not going to be able to recover those. So if you've lost your character in GTA Online, it looks like it's gone for good. So, as a result of the difficulties that they've been having, as a result of the fact that that people are really kind of beating up Rockstar in the game, Rockstar has announced that they are going to have a stimulus package for Grand Theft Auto Online that is going to end up with people getting $500,000 of, what are we going to call this, GTA bucks or something?
Yeah, that's fine.
GTA bucks, $500,000 GTA bucks in their in-game bank account for their GTA Online character. What we're hearing right now is that it's going to come in 2 disbursements of 250,000 GTA bucks apiece, and there's a couple of details on who is eligible to get this from a post on Rockstar's website. Number 1, you must play or have already played Grand Theft Auto Online during the month of October in order to qualify.
Which is a challenge in itself.
This is true. And
achievement unlocked.
You're gonna have to install the next title update, which I think is 1.04. It's supposed to be out next week, and actually, I guess that's all the actual requirements. Everything else apparently is going to be on there, and they're going to make an announcement when this starts, and each of these $250,000 disbursements will come in directly to your in-game bank account. So here's the question: in a title that has had a lot of problems at launch, and certainly a game that as highly anticipated as this one is, it's a really high-profile example of how badly a launch can go. I mean, this definitely brings to mind things like, I don't know, SimCity, Diablo 3, etc. So the question is, in a game that is definitely got a big microtransaction economy as part of its component, will this huge infusion of cash, do you think that this is actually going to make a difference in the minds of people playing it? Do you think that this can be leveraged to win people back to the fold?
What's happened technically has been very unfortunate, but I commend Rockstar for their ability to communicate to their fans and their community all along the way, the troubles they've had, and to reach out and to say...
It doesn't take much to communicate. Yeah, we know.
No,
I don't.
No, they've been very... I mean, I was tracking this for the blog on GameTrailers, and they, there was daily updates. The Rockstar feed. I mean, they were really letting people...
They were. Yeah, we know.
Still broke.
Still broke.
Well,
I'm kidding. Just go ahead. I'm kidding. DK.
I know, but what I'm saying is, in the face of technical difficulties, the worst thing you could do is turn off the channels of communication, which some people have done in the past, and just not feel for the end user. Now, at the end of the day, they're doing something here, whether or not it's the big, big what to do to compensate for people losing their characters or time lost in experiencing the game. I can't really say, but it is something, and they're looking to invigorate interest, like you said. That being said, I also would state that people bought Grand Theft Auto with the idea of playing the main game. Grand Theft Auto Online was definitely a component of that, but it's not like this game was an online-only game that people purchased and it's stopped the function. Kind of like you were talking about SimCity, inherently connected to the internet. The game is basically broken. No, you paid money for Grand Theft Auto 5. You were able to completely play through the entire single-player experience when they launched the game. This is obviously having hiccups, but it's been
That's a fair point.
Bad situation, but I think that they've kind of done the best job that they could, aside from just having it work perfectly out of the gate. But they're getting back to it, and I commend them for the way they've handled it, even though I'm not a big fan of the game.
I don't necessarily disagree with you that they've handled it to the best of their ability, other than, like you said, other than it just working.
Sure.
I think that they're trying to do what they can. I do think, to what you're saying, Sengo, I do think that there were a certain amount of people that did sort of hold off on picking up the game until a little later, because they were like, I'm not really big into the single player, but I am kind of looking forward to the multiplayer.
Sure.
And I think some of those people have, kind of gotten maybe the worst end of this deal, because maybe they weren't as interested in the other piece of it. And to be frank, I can kind of speak to that. I didn't pick the game up till like 2 weeks after it was out. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. The only thing that I guess I do have a bit of a question about is, and it kind of even goes to what we were just talking about with Watch Dogs, is so they pushed this title back. They pushed Watch Dogs back, to ostensibly fix it, get it to the standards they desire or whatever. I always kind of wondered what the real reason was for the 2-week gap between the launch of the main game and the online component. And everybody, I think, felt like and said that, well, it's just so that you can enjoy the single player, and then once you're kind of done with the single player, then you've got this thing to go on to. Now I kind of wonder if it couldn't be that maybe they foresaw some of these issues, and maybe they've been working on it, trying to get things ready, to which
sure.
kind of makes me wonder, like, maybe you need to work a little harder, and I don't know. I wonder. It does kind of surprise me that a company as big as Rockstar, and frankly as usually kind of respected for the product they put out, is pretty damn polished.
Yeah, that's true.
To having the issues they had. Now, granted, I know this is kind of a departure from their,
yeah, it's new territory for them,
their main type of game. So I definitely give them credit, but I don't necessarily think that they've done this any better or worse than any other company. And I think the stimulus is just that little thing, like, hey, let's try to get people that are frustrated about losing all their crap or losing that character that they worked on. Because let's be honest, in most cases it was only for a few days, because they've been having trouble getting on. So I think it's what they did was fine, but I don't necessarily think that they were going above and beyond.
Sure.
All right. So next up, we have the announcement of what it's going to look like to follow your friends and followers and things like that on the Xbox One. DK, how does this differ from the way it works now?
Okay, so basically Microsoft is really taking a social media approach to what Xbox Live is going to look like in the next generation on Xbox One, and that you will continue to have your friends list, which is now up to 1,000 people, but you also have the opportunity to have followers. And this past week, a demonstration video was released in which we got an opportunity to see the interface, which was pretty plain, the reputation kind of meter that is included within the interface on your friends list and your profile. And as I mentioned, the opportunity for you to now follow other people, have people follow you, as opposed to being friends. The big difference being privacy settings and data that is afforded to those who follow you publicly, as opposed to those who are friends with you. Limitless amounts of people can follow you. And I guess what they're trying to do here is really create that ecosystem in which gamers are trying to gain audiences through their platform. Right now, obviously, there's a lot of popularity on YouTube and Twitch and things for certain gamers who share videos and whatnot. But with the DVR capabilities of the system, with what they're trying to promote as different types of events through different games like Forza, what they're trying to do again is create a system where people say, "Oh, that guy's the best in the world at this. I should follow him and check him out when he's playing or whatever, or check out his clips." I don't know if it's a go or not. Until we see it in action, until we see the type of stuff that people are wanting to be followed for, or that I would, try to follow somebody because of XYZ. I mean, I guess it would be kind of entertaining to see LeBron James play NBA 2K, I guess, but I'm not really going to go out of my way to do it, as opposed to watching a video online. So do you guys think that this is a system seller? Is this truly the next generation of what we're talking about in the concept of online friends through social gaming? Or is it kind of more just something that they're tossing in and take it or leave it? It'll work for some people, be great for others who already broadcast. This is the next level of that for them. But is it too niche of a market for them to have this big feature set, or are you actually looking forward to it?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm looking forward to it, since I'm not going to be on the Xbox One. But I do think that there's probably some grit to this. I think that if you look at, there's a really interesting article on Polygon just recently about the explosion in popularity of the kind of Let's Play, YouTube channel phenomena, and some of the people who have really risen to the top of that have like millions and millions of followers. So in that sense, I can certainly see kind of a one-to-one analog between the ability to, say, follow somebody's YouTube channel and the ability to follow that person directly on Xbox Live. So yeah, I have to say that I do think that there's a possibility that this could end up being like a really, really popular thing. If you look at the kind of Let's Play phenomena as an indicator, it certainly seems like that could cross over, and people just end up following those gamers directly on their channels and watching directly as they play, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I kind of am with you, Brent, on the sense that I think it could be that big. I do sort of wonder a little bit that when it's like you've got so many ways to follow these people. Plus, the fact is, like, aren't these videos also supposed to be available to upload straight to their YouTube channels and straight to these other outlets, that it kind of makes me wonder if the feature is really needed. Like, it's sort of... It's a cool feature. Personally, I think it's one of those things where it's just going to be ubiquitous. I feel like Sony, if they aren't planning this specific thing already, it's probably something they were already kind of thinking about adding down the line, this whole, kind of following others, and then aside from your direct friends list and things like that, just to see the videos they've got. I think it's a neat feature. I think it's cool. I don't think that there's really a lot of downside to it, but I also kind of think with like the mass of people out there, like, there are going to be those who knows, hundreds or 100 or 1,000 people out there that have these huge following lists of people that follow their videos. I don't know if and I think you will follow your friends just like how you follow, you have them on your friends list. Maybe there will be some benefit to also following them, like, maybe their videos show up in a timeline differently or something. I think it's a cool feature. I don't really see per se a downside to it. Yeah. But I also don't really think that there's a lot of to me it's just okay, cool. Yeah, but
I
hope everything else. I hope
not as
everything's
ubiquitous
cool.
as YouTube is. You can't. Yeah. At least as far as they've announced right now, I don't know that you're going to be able to pull out your smartphone, launch, your Xbox Live Smart Glass app, and be able to, watch live gameplay streams directly from your phone the way that you could with a YouTube channel. And certainly, people who might not be on Xbox Live still have the ability to follow you on YouTube. So yeah, I agree that it lacks the ubiquitous nature that YouTube has, and the ability to access it from pretty much anywhere the way that YouTube has. But anyway, like I said, I think that I don't know that it's going to be as popular, but I definitely think that there's a possibility for it to. I think it's got the possibility to be pretty big, but within that community, as opposed to YouTube, where you just got access to the entire world.
And that's what I was going to say, is that because there was the announcement not too long ago that the YouTube integration won't be there at launch.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And I think that I actually think that that's sort of a intentional thing. I think that they're probably intentionally trying to kind of have like their network, maybe not solely, like they just said we're not doing it yet, but I think it's just like, hey, let's not worry about that too much. Let's see how much we can build up our service first, and make sure that it rolls out really good and smoothly and it works, and then we'll add in other flavors, because who knows, maybe they get more people on it than they sort of realize and say, hey, we can build this up even better and have like a featured video. The only thing I think is kind of interesting is once they do add this ability to upload it to YouTube and to other kind of outlets. I mean, let's be honest, you don't necessarily have to have all of the different social media outlets out there that you follow. You can follow one, and depending on how the person has it set up, I mean, you can see almost everything they post on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anything, because it all kind of can be filtered through the other sources. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool feature. Don't really know how necessarily big a deal it's.
And just one last little point is, right now, obviously, the friends lists are vastly limited compared to what they will be, 1,000 friends plus limitless followers. I hope to God that there's options to kind of select what you want to see from who you want to see, because I know right now I kind of get annoyed seeing the updates all the time when someone logs on or when somebody does this, that, and the other thing. And that's just with like, I don't even know how many friends I have, but like it's certainly not.
That's with like 2 people following you.
Right. So it's like if I had like 1,000 people that I followed, or like even 20 people, and like every damn time they booted something up, I'm going to get something on my screen. That hopefully they've thought of that.
Yeah. They probably haven't. All right, so last but not least, something someone did think about was the fact that, hey, that whole Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 remix, that worked pretty well. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do the second batch of games too. Brent, when can we expect to play these new Kingdom Hearts HD remakes?
Sometime in 2014. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 remix is going to hit exclusively for the PlayStation 3. And that is going to include Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and Kingdom Hearts Recoded with the HD remastered cinematics.
Nice.
There's a trailer attached to this announcement that you can check out. What do you guys think? I mean, Kingdom Hearts is a pretty, I think it's a pretty well respected franchise, pretty popular certainly. Is this and in fairness, I've not played any of the Kingdom Hearts games, so
yes.
You guys tell me, since I don't know, is this a big deal? Are people really going to bite for this?
It's a big deal from the standpoint that this is a huge franchise, and the people who love this franchise don't just love this franchise, they like have tattoos of all the characters type of thing. So, I mean, it's like people...
That's one of those areas where it really helps to be a fat person, because, there's a lot of characters. More
but,
area to cover.
I think this is good because it does have, like, I missed this whole thing the first time around like you. I think all three of us, it's kind of interesting to get our take on it because Tony, I don't know if you've played this or not. But
I played the first one.
Did you?
I played the first one when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I'm in a better place. Like, I'd actually want to play these with my kids next year because, I missed it the first time around. So, if it's coming out on the PS3 next year and have an opportunity to kind of experience it, and it's an updated, enhanced version of it, I can easily see us kind of checking that out if it's something that they're interested in as well. With all these characters, I'm sure it might be kind of fun. So I think that it's an opportunity for Square to kind of reach a new audience with Kingdom Hearts while reassuring the old one and kind of providing some fan service to them through the form of the HD remastered cinematics that you mentioned and some other benefits. But I think it's good. No harm, no foul. And maybe, it'll turn some people on to Kingdom Hearts that missed it the first time around like myself.
Yeah, and the HD remakes are pretty good at, like seeing some of the footage from this most recent one. I've got a friend that picked up this one because she was a big fan of the originals, and she said it's just fantastic. Like, they really did a good job of updating them, but not really changing them. Just making them look better for the current hardware and everything. The only thing I do think is a bit of I really think that this is just keeping or getting Kingdom Hearts back in the minds of people that either have forgotten about it or haven't played it at all before Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, which is theoretically going to be late next year or the year after that. And I also think it's kind of interesting that it's exclusive to the PlayStation 3, which is PlayStation 3 games are not backward compatible with your 4. I think it's maybe a little short-sighted that they didn't maybe make this like maybe a PSN title or some way that you could maybe get it on what is very soon going to be current gen hardware. I think it is going to be interesting to see how many people kind of actually take a second and be like, do I want to drag the PS3 back out, or did I sell my PS3 to get my Xbox One or PS4? I don't know. I sort of think that this is going to be an interesting year where you'll see some of these remakes. I'm not sure who they're playing to, because I think the audience that would really like them might have already moved on to newer hardware.
Well, shit.
All right, guys, we are here in the main topic this week, and of course, like we mentioned at the beginning of this week's Skirmish, we're coming up near the launch of the next console generation, the Xbox One and PS4.
Here it is.
Will be, and I mean, the Wii U.
Who?
And they're all going to be available about this time next month, roughly, and so we're kind of wondering. How are we feeling about them? Do we have our launch titles picked out? Do we think that there are titles out there yet that are really genuinely worth you going out and getting these systems for? I think we all kind of are know that we're going to have these systems at some point. But you know what? Is this year maybe to hold off and get some of the great games that are out on the current gen platforms and maybe wait a little while? Brent, you want to kind of take us down some of the things that we're talking about this week?
Well, as my intro for this episode kind of set up, we are very soon going to be ready to launch with the next-gen systems from Sony and Microsoft. And I think certainly in light of the things that we've been talking about today with delays, certainly for me, Watch Dogs being delayed is a pretty big deal as far as my next-gen console plans go. Given the tumultuous kind of year that we've had from the announcement of the PlayStation 4 earlier in the year, the follow-up with Microsoft's reveal of the Xbox One, and then there was, of course, that period of about 2 months or so where it just seemed like Microsoft was reversing course on something new every day of the week for a while there. It seems like things have finally kind of settled down. I think that we know what the feature set's going to be. I think we know what the policies and et cetera are going to be. There's been a couple of new additions and things like that, but really for the most part, since the summer, I think we know what the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are going to be. So I think the question is, in light of where the systems are at right now with their feature set, where the launch titles are at right now with the delay schedule, what do you guys think? Are you guys ready to launch on next gen when these systems come out in 4 and 5 weeks respectively?
Here's the deal. I mean, I feel that this console launch is by far the most profound example of them looking at the big picture in the long term. When you go back kind of through gaming history and look at the launch of consoles, it was really a precedent was being set that this is new hardware and here's the software that's going to show why you need this, and it's a new exciting thing. Going back, I mean, obviously all the way back to Super Mario on the NES. I mean, Nintendo's always launched with great games. Super Mario World, Super Mario 64. You look at the Dreamcast, Soul Calibur, and even the Wii with Wii Sports. These are consoles that say, here's a new experience, here's something different. Obviously, the original Xbox had Halo and games like Perfect Dark, which were and Cameo, things like that. And Tony, I remember, like we've talked about on the show, going with you to get the PS2 and playing SSX for the first time was like an experience. My point is, this is the first time I really feel like these consoles are launching, but it's like a soft launch almost. I mean, the games coming out at launch, when you look at the launch lineups, there's some good games. I would say personally, Rise, Son of Rome on the Xbox One, and also Killzone and maybe Knack, I don't know, on the PS4 are the games that I were like, cool. But are they like, I need this console today to get it? I don't know, because there's so many features and things involved in the consoles that go beyond just the games. All those consoles that I mentioned before as well, aside from the Dreamcast and its online connectivity, I mean, NFL 2K was a system seller as well, but all of those were just about the games, whereas now, like, both of these are, what am I really buying here with all these services, all these types of things? And not to mention, especially in the Microsoft camp, you might have some pretty skeptical people based on the way that the Xbox 360 launched with its technical woes. So in terms of, the excitement surrounding this, yes, we're entering the next generation, and I'm excited to see the next generation come about, but I can't help but shake the feeling that it's more of just like a beta or a soft launch for what's to come down the road.
Well, if the release of games over the past few years is any indication.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I alone in thinking that, or what?
No, I have to say that I'm kind of there with you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I'm a little, I've always been, I think, very kind of upfront with the fact that I feel like I'm getting further and further away from the experience in gaming that I personally kind of enjoyed. And I don't even mean just the games. I just, the feeling about what it was to be kind of a gamer. Like, I remember back in the day, I love the idea of having like this little, just maybe a title and like a single screenshot of a game a couple of months before it came out, and that's all I had to think, and I had to kind of make up this world of what I thought the game would be like based on that, and then the game would come out and it would be something totally different, and it would be this really fun experience, and then I had to play through that game because I didn't have another game coming right around the corner that I had to get onto, and in most cases I didn't necessarily have the money to do it. Now I feel like it's just different. People spend a lot more kind of money on games in general, so they're buying games more often. Games are coming out more often. Yeah. We see everything about games so often. I feel like a little bit of that specialness that we had back in that day is gone, and I think what you just spoke about with the titles that are launching. The fact that the vast majority of the titles that are launching for both these systems are multi-platform titles, and I mean vast. It's like 75-80% of the titles releasing for these two systems are available on both.
Yes,
so
and kind of maybe doesn't even not just both consoles, but your current console. When you look at
there you go. That's a perfect example. Yeah. And I will say, like, I am genuinely excited for playing Battlefield 4 and Titanfall and Killzone and some of these new titles that are going to be on this next gen hardware. Not exclusively, even in the case of like Battlefield 4, but just I am looking forward to these experiences. But I will say that there's that weird thing. Like you mentioned knack, a second ago. You said like and maybe knack, but not really. I'll be honest with you, knack in any given time frame, any normal time frame, I wouldn't be excited about at all. During a like launch cycle, when you're kind of like looking for an excuse to pick up a new game, you're kind of like, I just sort of want to see what it can do.
Right.
And you want to just pick up a game. Now
also,
is that
the one thing with knack, just real quickly, isn't the one thing with knack that's kind of interesting? I mean, you're talking about a game whose director was the guy who was like the system architect for the PlayStation. Right. I mean, like I'm kind of curious because I'm like, if there's anything that's going to like really show off what this thing can do right now, like it seems like it'd be this game.
No, exactly, and I do agree, but it's kind of like I'm trying to think. Like we mentioned that when we sat in line to get PlayStation 2s a long time ago, and that's when we weren't talking to Brent. And
the good old days.
The good old. No, I'm just playing. But I do remember. I remember like what we picked up. Like I think I picked up like Tekken Tag, SSX. I think I even picked up a copy of Madden. That shows you just how desperate I was for buying a new game.
Actually, Madden was one of the better games at launch in the PS2.
It was okay, but you could go to the Dreamcast though and play 2K1, and it was or 2K at least at that point. It was significantly better.
Yeah,
but anyway,
well,
the whole point though was like I would probably SSX is maybe something I wouldn't maybe necessarily would have taken a chance on, but it was like, oh, that just looks cool for this new console. I'm gonna try it out. It ended up being just a super amount of fun.
Yeah,
maybe
game.
the best launch game at that time for that system.
Oh, easily.
But then I also remember like a friend of mine having to buy a bundle that came with that what was it? It was the game that had the fireworks, and it was like a timing game that you had to Fantavision. Was it Fantavision?
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it was called Fantavision. It's been a long time, and I never owned it. But I remember like us kind of getting into, like, I went over to his house and I was like, well, hey, let's just try that game. It's a new game for a new console that I haven't seen yet. Let's try it. And it was kind of fun. Right. It's just one of those things where you're kind of pushed into these circumstances where you might give something a chance in a situation where you normally wouldn't
That's
have.
very true.
And I kind of feel like, and I'm not even necessarily saying that that's the greatest thing in the world, that you'll buy a crappier game just because you're looking for an excuse to.
Right.
But there is kind of a magic to that I think is lost on this current generation. Because let's I think it'd be a decent idea to go down like what. So okay, so I think I'm getting both systems, right? And I think you're both getting PS4s, right?
I'm getting a PS4.
I'm planning on getting
now.
a PS4. I don't even know if I'm getting it launch day.
Okay, well, so
I'm
there
getting
you
a
go.
PS4 on launch.
So, like, what do you mind me? Like, do you have yet your list, and you can take Watch Dogs?
Yeah,
off of
well,
it?
and that was the thing. Like, Watch Dogs was at the fucking top of the list. I was planning to get Watch Dogs, and I was planning to get Drive Club, and I was or actually in order of importance, I was going to get Watch Dogs, I was going to get Killzone Shadowfall, and I was thinking about getting Drive Club. In light of Watch Dogs going away, and this actually is kind of interesting timing because I was just watching from this week's X Factor. Lauren and I checked out this gameplay video from Assassin's Creed 4 that for whatever reason this is like really dialed me in. Like I went from that looks kind of fun, but I've tried the Assassin's Creed games before and I just don't think they're for me. And I watched this gameplay video, and for whatever reason, it like really got to me. They were kind of showing off these kind of like Far Cry 3 open world mechanics, and I was like, oh man, that looks awesome. So I think
that's not a bad thing. Yeah.
I think that I might end up picking up AC4, and then I still think I want to get Killzone Shadowfall. And I have to admit that I am kind of curious about Knack. The more that I see of Knack, the more I'm kind of like, that looks kind of cool and everything. But I don't know if I'm willing to bite first, like right out the gate. Especially when, as we're going to talk about in my battle cry, especially with Lego Marvel Superheroes, like because to me that's a game that my wife and I could play together and enjoy, and that's going to be out at launch. So like I as I kind of think about that style of game. Which I definitely think that Knack is more, that kind of, it's more sort of a fun, maybe casual kind of game. Yeah. As I look at Knack as opposed to something like Lego Marvel Superheroes, I definitely lean towards Lego Marvel Superheroes. So I think that those are that's maybe like the pool of games that I'm thinking about. AC4, Killzone Shadowfall, Lego Marvel Superheroes, and Knack and Drive Club are both things that I'm kind of thinking about. But those three, I think, are the ones I probably want to get.
Yeah, I if you put the multi-platform stuff, I'm gonna hold off on playing on current gen and wait till the next gen versions come out for Battlefield and Call of Duty. Yeah. Because I want to, I don't know, I want to experience them on the new. I don't want to play them for a little while and do the trade-in thing for $10 and whatever. Sure. I'd rather just experience them on the new hardware for good or bad. I mean, who knows? Maybe there'll be a lot more bugs, and I'll wish that I had played the other versions first, but whatever. I'm kind of looking forward to those. The biggest problem I'm having is I really am a little bit torn as to what games to get on what platform, because I will say up to this point, most of the people I play online with are getting Xbox One, and I'm kind of like, man, I really want to try some of these titles on the 4 as well. So I'm sort of torn on those multi-platform titles. But aside from those, a Killzone is a definite. Forza for me is a definite on the Xbox One. That's probably the only two platform agnostic or platform dependent, I guess, versions that I am gonna get day one. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I gotta be honest. It's a little. I think to like what you were saying earlier, DK. It's a little. You can tell that, hey, this is going to be great hardware down the road. We're at the beginning of a really cool time frame, but like where you have that huge explosion up front and maybe it dies out quicker, they're realizing these systems are going to last them longer. These systems are going to have to last them a lot longer, so that they're kind of like, well, there's no real point to like blowing our wad. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say this: as far as my kind of lists, I'm reverse. Like, I feel it's better to play the current gen versions now, because again, I think in a lot of the cross-generational titles, they're being upgraded as opposed to being developed on next gen and then brought down for current gen. I think Watch Dogs might be the only one that is actually doing that. Games like Assassin's Creed, I think, are probably built and optimized for current gen, meaning 360 and PS3, and then kind of placed on the next gen platforms as well. I don't know from what I've seen. So I'm sure that there'll be great games. Again, the thing of bugs or whatever. But here's the deal: the onus is on the developers and Microsoft and Sony to make me want to buy these consoles. And I'm in the predicament of where, again, I talked about this being a long-term thing. The long-term play for me is PS4. I see more stuff on that platform switching over. I've been an Xbox primarily Xbox fan for the last 2 generations, but I see that changing this go around. But as far as launch titles go, I'm actually going to visit with Crytek next week in Germany to see Rise: Son of Rome for launch stuff, and that's the game that I'm the most excited about on the Xbox One. But it's got to be really, 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 really good if I'm gonna get an Xbox One.
To sway your opinion at this point.
To sway my opinion. So it's weird.
Yeah.
Like the single game that I want to play the most out of the only next gen games, like not cross-generational games, only next-gen games, is Rise, Son of Rome, and Knack.
Don't you think, though, given that Crytek's a third-party developer, don't you think it's pretty much a guarantee that at some point down the road that's going to be on PlayStation 4?
Yeah, I think it's a timed exclusive thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, and going back to what I started talking about, was that idea of buying that console day one and coming home and being like, we're in the next generation of gaming. I will never forget the first time I played Super Mario World after having played Mario Brothers the whole time. I will never forget sneaking back into the back of EB Games to see Super Mario 64 and my mind being blown away by that game and other games that came out for that platform, or Soul Calibur on Dreamcast or whatever. And that's what I'm saying with the whole idea of the soft launch. I don't know that there's anything on this and from either camp that is that big of a deal.
I kind of agree. And I tell you something you mentioned a second ago that I think is a really good point is you're saying, like, they really need to do something to get your buy-in on it. And, I have said this quite a few times. I think in a lot of ways, they don't necessarily need to do much at the launch of this new system. It's like the early adopters, the people that are going to buy it, are going to buy it. Mm-hmm. They're just going to buy these systems. So right now,
it's like you're going to buy the game
and figure out what to get. They don't necessarily care that much
for it.
about getting anyone who is sort of on the fence. They're buying because, like, look, we're going to have a hard enough time getting. Well, hopefully, who knows? They may be sitting on the shelves, but I kind of doubt it. Although Xbox has said they're going to have plenty to have them on shelves, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. But the whole idea is that, like, look, we're going to have a hard enough time getting these people that already, without question, are buying our systems. So we're just going to worry on getting that done first, and then getting them out there, and then we'll worry about bringing on the sort of the people that are on the fence about it down the road. And I do think that's a sort of
that's a long-term
I think that's
strategy,
almost a year-long. That's almost
yeah.
like a year-long kind of thing before we'll really start to see truly next-gen games, I guess.
Yeah, next holiday is going to be bigger for them than this holiday.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
So.
Depressing.
One other thing that I really am anxious to find out about is how these launch titles on next gen stack up against their PC counterparts. Particularly, I think Assassin's Creed 4 and like Battlefield and Call of Duty are all really, really. Those are interesting titles to watch to kind of see what they're going to look like on PC versus next gen, because just kind of I was thinking about what you were saying, Daniel, about that cross-generational thing and how you kind of feel like these were sort of designed with the current generation of consoles in mind. I'm really curious to see how those cross-generational titles end up faring on PC, because certainly for me, as opposed to only considering, well, do I get, say, Assassin's Creed on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4? I could very well get Assassin's Creed 4 on PC, and so I'm kind of curious to see, is there going to be, if you're like really like into it for graphics, like if the whole thing is like I want to be wowed by next gen graphics. I'm really curious to know if the next gen consoles
or something, some new aspect that can only be done on PC or next.
I want to know. I want to know if there's enough of is there enough of a pull there to get me to get it on, say, a next gen console as opposed to the PC.
I will say I saw some just real early stuff on, like, say, Assassin's Creed 4, and it does to me look like a title where it's a console based title where even when they did like the PC version, that was kind of like they did the console version and then ported it to the PC. That's true, and added some new stuff.
I've got Assassin's Creed 3 on the PC. I played it on the PlayStation 3. I've got it on the PC right now. And I can tell you that it's, they're not
It's incremental. It's
They're not the most amazing, dramatic things to show off your PC, Rick.
I think to me the one title I'm maybe the most excited about this year, just in seeing and experiencing, is probably Battlefield 4, because I do feel like that is a title I do think they push the PC version as far as they can. I think they push the console versions as far as they can. I don't think that they're necessarily like, we just make the lowly console version and then bump it up to these other levels. I think that it's, hopefully, I could be wrong, I think it's going to be one of those first multi-platform titles across the board that really will show, at least at this time frame. I mean, it's always going to get better when they get more and more familiar with the hardware and whatnot, but I think this will be a good indicator of just what the difference will be between PC, this next gen hardware, and current gen hardware to see.
Okay then.
Fart noise. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, we are coming up near the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our battle cries of the week, and I'm going to start off with my battle cry, which is actually something, I got to be honest, this was something that caught me a little off guard, because up until watching this new device, I wasn't really that big on devices such as the Oculus Rift. Not to say that I didn't think that they had any purpose. I don't know. I was kind of like, that looks neat, but it looks to me like the version I would want to experience is probably a version or two down the road. Mm-hmm. Like, it just didn't look like it was at a point where I was too interested in it yet. And then I saw a recent video for a device called the
Avagant.
I think it's called Avagant. Mm-hmm. And it's made by a company
it sounds like something you don't want the doctor to say. You have Avagant. Crap.
But I scrub really hard. It's basically it's similar in concept, I guess, in that you have two kind of processors that are putting two images in front of your eye, and giving you an image that can be stereoscopic. Now, the one thing that's kind of different about this is they actually use, I believe that they're using something along the lines of DLP, instead of using like two LCD screens that are sort of in front of your eye. They actually reflect the light directly into your eye, which a lot of people are kind of freaked out and they say it really worries them. But it's light goes into your eye. It's just light goes into your eye. It just depends on the amount and the strength and things like that. I mean, even when you're watching an LCD screen, there's a good amount of light coming out. That's how you can see it. This is just being reflected directly into your eye versus going through like emissive technology. Yep. But the whole point of it is, supposedly it gives you a theoretically can potentially give you a better image. And in some cases can kind of get rid of like the need for higher resolution, smaller LCD screens, because at the same resolution on this device, it actually looks roughly, it supposedly looks a little better than a kind of equivalent resolution on the Oculus Rift. Now, they are going towards more of a media thing, so I think they're a little more towards like you could watch 3D movies and things like that. But they haven't said that you couldn't do games on it as well, and they say that they can actually bump the current versions around at like 240 hertz. So I mean, there's always possibility of running higher refresh rates in games, things like that. So
and I don't know. They do have a second cool prototype that's got some head tracking hardware built in that is a little bit more analogous to something like the Oculus Rift. But it's exciting. It's really exciting. You sent me the link to this the other night, and I was reading up on it, and they're talking about having like the consumer version like next year. It's supposed to be out like really soon.
Like maybe at CES.
Optometrists rejoice.
All right, so who's got our next battle cry? Brent,
yes.
What you got for the battle cry?
Well, last section we were talking about launch titles we were getting excited about, and one of the titles I mentioned is Lego Marvel Superheroes, and I wanted to let everybody know that you can get right now a free demo on PC for Lego Marvel Superheroes on the game's official website, and it's from what I'm reading here. I've been downloading it while the show's been going on, so I haven't played it yet, but according to what I'm reading here, it's apparently not very long. It's not a huge demo, but should give you an idea of what the game's going to feel and play like. You'll be able to play as Iron Man and Hulk, and there'll be some appearances by Sandman and Abomination. It sounds an awful lot like that little bit of gameplay that we saw way back when for Lego Marvel Superheroes. But anyway, I'm pretty excited about this game. I'm a big fan. in general of the Lego games that TT Games has been working on. Huge fan of the Lego Star Wars series. The Lego Indiana Jones games were great. My wife raves about Lego Batman too. She plays that on her DS all the time. So I'm pretty down with this. I'm going to check out the demo, and for those of you PC gamers out there that are interested in this, I would encourage you to do the same. This, of course, will be launching on November 15th on pretty much every system imaginable.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, it does actually look pretty awesome too. I will have to agree with you there. I'm kind of excited about playing that.
Sweet.
DK, what is your battle cry this week?
Well, I was not able to be at New York Comic Con this year. Like I mentioned last week, though, I still did wear the outfit to the chagrin of my kids as I walked them to school. But anyway, one of the, there's always announcements and things coming out of Comic Con. I'm not the biggest comic fan in the world. Obviously, I go there to cover the video game aspect for GameTrailers and whatever. But one of the announcements that did come out that is comic related, tied in video games and comics, and it is the fact that The Witcher is getting its comic coming up soon from none other than Dark Horse. So a collaboration between Dark Horse and CD Projekt Red was announced during New York Comic Con. That's going to see everyone's favorite monster hunter, Geralt of Rivia, come to the comic scene. So, like I said, I am not a huge comic guy, but this is something I would actually like to check out. Obviously,
given the fact that you can't read,
exactly. The Witcher franchise, the series is obviously mature. It's very graphic in a lot of ways. One of the comics I did love when I was a kid growing up, and when I look back on it, I'm like, Mom, why did you let me buy Conan the Barbarian comics? But
Conan was great. What are you talking about?
Oh, I know it was great, but I don't know that I'd want my kid reading that right now.
Yeah, because we see how you grew up. So I mean, obviously there is a correlation.
I gotta try to rein this in a little bit. But anyway, I'm very excited for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and to see it cross over into the world of comics is a cool thing. So let's hope that this helps expand the universe of The Witcher, and good luck to both Dark Horse and CD Projekt Red on getting that out there. That's my battle cry.
Excellent.
Yeah. That is really cool to see a title that I don't think gets maybe sometimes enough praise, and kind of see it get out into more different mediums. So
yeah,
very cool. Brent,
yes.
I believe you have our member battle cry.
I do indeed, and it comes from Patrick Malahai. I don't really know if that's how your name's pronounced.
Malahai.
So anyway, Patrick says, "To be everything to all gamers is the holy grail of the industry. No one shall ever obtain such a title. Borderlands 2 is my FPS of choice right now. Destiny has more of a WoW feel to it, though, which I find myself very intrigued by. I like that every character could be proficient with all weapons in battle in Borderlands 2, but why not let the player choose which weapon they want to specialize in instead of assigning that to a fixed skill tree? That would be a welcome tweak for me. Can Destiny find a way to expand the tasks of skill trees beyond what Borderlands 2 provided us with? Does Destiny boil down to WoW meets Borderlands, sans the insane story and crazy humor? It definitely sounds cool, and I'd like to test it out to see if they succeed in combining the different genres. The pull for me comes from my enjoyment I got out of Borderlands and Fallout 2. The game should be a solid benchmark for where the genre is headed, if nothing else. And I certainly agree with that. I think, for me, Borderlands 2 is the first FPS that I really got into that showed me, what the kind of FPS / RPG, what it could be. I was not as into the Fallout games as other people have been. So my first real taste of that came in Borderlands 2, and I think that's kind of a good. At least for me, when I look at Destiny, Borderlands 2 is definitely the game that I'm kind of thinking of and saying, oh, that's really kind of interesting. So they're kind of taking this and this, kind of mechanic from BL2, and they're turning it into, this different sort of thing for Destiny. That's certainly something that's been in the back of my mind.
And I think per our conversation last week, what is Bungie doing to kind of meld all of these things that we've learned together while expanding stuff? And in contrast to this battle cry, which I think is optimistic, there was one, right in line with Tony's sentiment last week that was really funny. I thought about doing that one as well, which was, they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean, Tony? How can you say this game's not original? It has guns and it has monsters and And I'm like,
Well,
Tony's
I
probably
mean, this
laughing.
statement kind of says the same thing. He just has a better thing. He says it's like it looks a lot kind of similar to it without the insane story and crazy humor. It's like kind of the
Without the defining
toned down version of it.
characteristics.
Which I mean, hey, that's. Maybe it'll appeal to a wider audience. I'm sure. I mean, just being a Bungie game and just looking as good as it looks, and I'm sure playing as well as it'll play. I have no doubts that it'll be popular. I just I don't know.
That's the game I want to play on PS. That's the game I want to play on next gen. But at the same time, it's cross-generational, so it's like I could just go buy it for Xbox 360. I guess. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. Although I do think it'll look significantly better. I mean, just why
it will.
How,
yeah, it will. I mean, and that is the one. That and Watch Dogs, I think, are like going to be huge leaps probably. So.
And you get to wait till next year on both of them now.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't have to play there anytime soon. So enjoy that new next-gen hardware.
That's right.
All right. So that ends it for this week's Skirmish. And don't try to watch us next week.
No, we're not going to have a show
very
next
difficult.
week. Yeah, it'll be very...
you might...
all DK's
You
fault.
can try all week long. It'll take you at least a good week for it to show up.
Yes, no, I have to. I'm going to actually do a little, maybe a little webcast. I don't know. It's going to be called "A Vegetarian in Journey to Germany."
Good luck with it.
Right. Because every time I go to Germany, I'm like, man, what do I eat? So no, there's stuff to eat, but I don't think
I thought it was going to be like Daniel reads a book.
From what I understand,
I'll read
Europe
a
in
book on a
general
plane.
is not. They're not quite as vegetarian. Not quite as vegetarian friendly over there or compatible.
I don't know. I think depending on where you
depending on where you. I mean, I always
certainly not
find
France.
something to eat.
Certainly not
know?
France. The French they eat meat a lot of meat.
Yeah, but when I show up in Germany, the very first thing I say is, "Please don't show me your schnitzel," and usually that ends up.
How does that work?
Not very good.
So anyway, the bottom line is no epic
episode.
battle cry next week. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Which is good. At
Assuming
that point,
that Daniel
that's like going to
doesn't
be a
ask
week.
somebody to show him their schnitzel and he gets detained over there. Assuming that doesn't happen.
With Justin Bieber's monkey. Was that in Germany?
I'm pretty sure anything goes in Germany, though. I could be
Well,
wrong.
I mean, judging by
They're
their
not.
never mind,
If
but-
you get detained in Germany for some crazy sexual thing, you've done something
Wunderbar.
really
You've done something
fucking
wunderbar.
crazy.
you should probably get you should probably get some sort of Nobel Prize at that point.
Yeah, I mean they hand them out these days like it matters anyway. All right, well, so anyway, that is going to do it for this week. Join us again in 2 weeks when we will once again be mercilessly cleaving through the fat of the gaming stories of the day. For Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams, I'm your host Tony Grice, and remember, cry havoc. And which version of Pokemon did you guys get? X or?
I kind of want to. I think good thing my kids don't listen to this podcast because I think that's what they're getting for Christmas.
I'm actually like legitimately kind of excited for playing X. I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm gonna get it.
Gonna get your Pokemon on.
That's the thing that you could do in Germany. That
Pokemon.
might
I was gonna say, yeah, that's like Daniel and venereal diseases. Gotta catch them all.